Okay, good evening all. I welcome you all for this today's session. Now, in this today's session, we are going to discuss TTT diagram, CCT diagrams, and critical cooling rate. And along with this, I will start some heat treatment processes of steels. Okay, I will discuss that also. Okay, in this session, we are going to complete this TTT diagram and CCT diagrams, and we will try to understand the concept of critical cooling rate. Then I will start few heat treatment processes. In that, I'm going to cover isothermal. Okay, in annealing, and in that I'm going to cover annealing heat treatment process and the normalizing heat treatment process along with its different types like isothermal annealing, subcritical annealing, box annealing, bright annealing, spheroidized annealing. Okay, different types we are going to discuss in this today's session only. Okay, now let's start with this TTT diagram. Okay, this TTT diagram is on your screen. One TTT diagram I have highlighted here, and this TTT diagram is for eutectoid steel. Eutectoid steel means the steel which consists of or its composition is 0.8% carbon. Okay, this is the TTT diagram for 0.8% carbon, that is exact 0.8% carbon steel, which is also known as eutectoid steel. If carbon percentage is below 0.8%, then it is hypoeutectoid steel. And if carbon percentage is above 0.8%, then it is hypereutectoid steel. Okay, now first we will start with what is the meaning of this TTT diagram. Okay, TTT diagram means time temperature transformation diagram. Okay, time temperature transformation diagram, hence it is termed as TTT diagram. Now, what is the purpose of this TTT diagram? Now, this diagram, first, before deciding the purpose of TTT diagram, first you should be able to understand what information we are getting from this TTT diagram. And then only we can understand its use. Okay, from this TTT diagram, we will get the information related to which phases are there at a given temperature and time conditions. Okay, so from this TTT diagram, we will able to understand which phases will be there at that particular temperature condition and time condition, and depending on this, we can decide the cooling rate. Okay, which cooling rate we are going to use, and after deciding that cooling rate, depending on that cooling rate only, properties of the material or the final component will be decided, and as per our need or as per our requirement, we can change the properties. To change the properties, first we have to choose the proper cooling rate, and to choose the proper cooling rate, this TTT diagram is very helpful. Okay, for doing or conducting the heat treatment process, the most generally used tools are, the first tool will be your iron carbide equilibrium diagram, and the second important tool is TTT diagram. Okay, this TTT diagram or it is also known as isothermal transformation diagram. Why it is termed as isothermal transformation diagram, that I will explain during this session only. Okay, now initially this is time temperature transformation diagram. From this diagram we will get the information related to the phases or which transformation is occurring under the given temperature and time condition, that we will be able to understand, and depending on this, we can decide the suitable cooling rate to get the desired properties in our required product. Okay, now how this TTT diagram is plotted, time, temperature, transformation diagram. There is one procedure you have to follow to plot this diagram, one experiment you have to conduct. Now how this experiment is conducted, that I will explain one by one. Certain stages are there. Now initially, now as far as our this TTT diagram is for this eutectoid steel or steels. Now, how this TTT diagram is plotted? Initially, we are taking number of steel samples or number of steel pieces in one furnace. Okay, in one furnace we are collecting number of steel samples and we are heating them. Okay, we are heating them in one furnace in the austenitizing region or in the austenitic region or austenitizing temperature region. In that zone we are heating all steel samples. Okay, and during after heating that all steel sample in the austenitic region, we are keeping these samples at that particular temperature, or we are choosing one constant temperature and we are keeping all the samples at that constant temperature for a definite period of time, so that this time will be termed as holding time or soaking time. And why we are providing this time? In that austenitic region, all samples we should get uniform and homogeneous austenite. Okay, uniform and homogeneous austenite should be there in all samples and throughout the cross sectional area of that component. If you checked on the surface, austenite should be there. At the center of that component, austenite should be there. Means to get the uniform heating throughout the overall cross section of that component and to get the uniform and homogeneous austenite phase, we are providing holding time or soaking time to that component. And this is the second stage. And now in the third stage, after providing the sufficient soaking time or holding time, now in these first two stages, heating the samples in the austenitic region is the first step, and heating all this, giving all the steel samples some holding time or soaking time to get the homogeneous heating and homogeneous and uniform austenite structure. This is first two regions. You have to take care that at the higher temperature ranges, decarbonization or sometimes oxidation may occur. You have to take proper care to avoid this decarbonization and oxidation by using some mixture of salt baths. Okay, with the help of this salt bath mixtures, decarbonization is avoided and oxidation is also avoided. Now first two stages are completed. Now all these processes we are conducting in one furnace. Now after sufficient holding time or giving some holding time or soaking time, now all the samples are removed from the initial this first furnace and all are collected or taken in the second furnace. And here in the second furnace, temperature in that furnace is below A1. Okay, temperature is below A1, in between this region below A1 to below above ms. Okay, I will explain that what is the ms temperature, but here you have to remember that all the samples will be kept collected in this another furnace. In that furnace temperature range is below A1 and above ms temperature, that is martensite formation start temperature. In this temperature zone, uh, all samples are collected, and here for all samples one constant temperature is maintained. Suppose 600 or 650 degrees Celsius, one constant temperature is selected. And now from this second furnace, by taking some time interval, or at each specific time interval, one by one sample is collected and it is quenched in the brine solution or cold water. This is the cooling cycle. Okay, here what I am doing, simply I am performing the heat treatment process. Okay, initially I have done the one heating cycle, then I have provided some holding time, and then I'm doing the cooling. Okay, this is nothing but the heat treatment process. I am following the heat treatment process which I have explained in the previous session only. And but I'm conducting this. Initially I have provided the heat in the temperature zone above A1, that is to get in the austenitic region. I have provided the heating, or I have heated the samples in austenitic region. I have provided the sufficient holding time or soaking time to get homogeneous austenite, and then I am transferring all the steel samples in another furnace where temperature range is below A1 and above MS temperature, means in between 700 to 200 degrees Celsius temperature will be there, and from that temperature zone one constant temperature is selected. Okay, that temperature is nothing but okay, one constant temperature range is selected. Am I audible? I think connection is lost. Just give me 1 minute. I'm connecting it through my mobile. Yes. Okay, now I think I am audible. Okay, now I will explain it again. In the time temperature transformation diagram, number of steel samples are collected and they are initially heated in furnace. In one furnace they are heated, and they are heated in the austenitic region, and its temperature is above A1. Okay, so that we will get the austenite phase, and here we are providing some holding time or soaking time to get the uniform austenite in this region. And now, after getting uniform austenite in all steel samples, all these steel samples are removed from this furnace and they are collected in second furnace, where the temperature is kept in the range below A1 temperature zone and just above MS temperature zone. And one particular temperature value is selected. Okay, suppose 600 or 650 or 500, and all samples are uh, it's kept at that constant temperature throughout the process. And now one by one we are collecting these samples. Okay, as at specific time interval, one sample is collected. It is cooled or quenched in the water or brine solution. And sample number 2 is collected, then it is cooled in the or quenched in the cold water or brine solution. Means we are quenching the samples which are kept at the constant temperature, uh, and we are checking their microstructures after cooling them up to room temperatures. We are checking the microstructure. Now here we will find that in some cases, okay, now austenite will get transferred to any of the three products depending on the transformation temperature. It may get transferred to perlite, it may get transferred to bainite, it may get transferred to uh, martensite also. Okay, three transformation products are there: martensite, bainite, and perlite. Depending on the transformation temperature, that is the cooling rate, we will get the different products. Now, at each specific time interval, we are cooling one component. Means in some component we will get only martensite initially. Okay, from that we can note the martensite formation start temperature. Then in some samples, we will get martensite and suppose bainite. Then from that, we can note down the martensite finish temperature and bainite start temperature like this. Okay. Then bainite start temperature, bainite finish temperature. And similarly, from different checking the different microstructures of different samples, we will able to find out martensite transformation, martensite formation start temperature, martensite formation finish temperature. In the same way, okay, it is denoted by MS and MS, MS and MF, martensite formation start temperature. And MF is nothing but martensite formation finish temperature. Then BS, bainite formation start. Okay, bainite formation start. Then BF is finishes the bainite formation. Then PS and PF for perlite formation start and perlite formation finishes. In the same way, alpha, yes, that is proeutectoid ferrite. It will be observed in hypoeutectoid steel. And in the same way, in the hypereutectoid steels, proeutectoid cementite phase will be there. Okay. C, yes, that is cementite start formation. Okay, cementite uh, formation starts at that particular temperature. It is denoted by CS. Alpha S, here you can say that this is proeutectoid ferrite. Its formation will start at that particular point. It is denoted by alpha S. In the same way, CS, this is proeutectoid cementite. In PS and PF, BS and BF, and MS and MF. Okay, means it's a formation start temperature and formation finish temperature for perlite, bainite, and martensite. These points you have to mark. Okay, from this in the TTT diagram, this points will be marked here like PS, PF, this BS, BF, MS, and MF. Now, in this region, okay, this is the temperature, A1 temperature. You see the movement of this cursor, this A1 temperature here. In between this region, A1 and whichever curve we are getting, this is our TTT curve. Okay, this TTT curve has C shape or S shape. Okay, it has C shape or S shape. Hence, it is also termed as C curve or S curve. Okay, this is termed as C curve or S curve. And now, this, as I have explained in the experiment itself, we are heating in the one furnace in the austenitic region, then we are collecting that sample in the second furnace, and we are keeping them in that furnace in the A1 to MS temperature zone, in between that range at one constant temperature. And one by one, we are collecting the samples. Hence, this transformation is isothermal transformation. Okay. and whichever diagram we are obtaining, how this diagram is plotted, after cooling it or quenching it in the water, we are getting some transformation products of the austenite, and that we are checking. And this information we are means whichever phase we have got, whichever microstructure we are getting at the particular temperature condition and the time intervals, it is plotted by taking temperature as a function of time, and a curve is obtained. This curve is termed as time temperature transformation curve, and as it has C shaped or sometimes S shape, it is also known as C curve or S curve. And as we are conducting this at a constant temperature, whichever transformation is occurring, it is occurring at some constant temperature. Hence, it is termed as isothermal transformation diagram. Okay, TTT diagram, that is time temperature transformation diagram, or it is also known as or it is also known as isothermal transformation diagram, or it is also known as C curve or S curve. And whichever curve I have plotted here, uh, it is for TTT diagram for eutectile type of steel, that is 0.8% carbon. Now here on this right side, you can see the hardness is plotted here. Okay, in this region now, please refer the hardness with the phases, you will understand it in better way. Now in this region below this A1 temperature and this curve portion of this C shape or S shape, this is termed as tip of the isothermal transformation diagram, in short IT diagram, or nose of this IT diagram. Okay, this is tip or nose of the IT diagram. IT is isothermal transformation diagram. This is the nose or tip of the IT diagram. Okay, now in this region, this below A1 and this nose of the IT diagram, in this region, we are the transformation. If we are transferring from this temperature zone, the product at the room temperature, that is austenite, will get transformed to perlite. Okay, it will be fine perlite or coarse perlite. Now, if your transformation temperature is in between this range, means below this nose of C curve and above this MS, within this region, okay, in this region, you will get the binite. Okay, it may be upper binite or lower binite. If the transformation temperature is on this higher side, okay, then you will get the upper binite. And if your transformation temperature is towards the lower side, then lower binite is formed. Okay, if transformation temperature is in this range, then lower binite is obtained. And suppose transformation temperature is in this range below 500 but above 300, then you will get the upper binite. And if transformation temperature is less than this ms or 200 degrees Celsius temperature, particularly for this 0.8% eutectoid steel, then we will end up with the martensite phase at the room temperature. Okay, means when temperature transformation temperature is high, we will get the perlite phase, and if transformation temperature is low, we will end up with the martensite phase. Means with higher transformation ranges, we will get the perlite, which is having lower hardness, means it will improve the ductility. And if the transformation temperature is low, then we will get the martensite structure, means it is having high hardness. Okay, here you will get the hardness values. Here perlite will be there, lower hardness values. In binite, little bit higher hardness values. Then on the marten side, we'll get the highest hardness. So this is the time temperature transformation diagram or IT diagram. Okay, and this, when you draw this diagram, you have to mention what is the meaning of this PS and PF. Okay, this A austenite, then F is for ferrite, C is for cementite, and this perlite start. Okay, perlite formation start, pearlite transformation formation finish, bainite formation start, bainite formation finish, then martensite formation start, and MF is martensite formation finish. Okay, and same way proeutectoid cementite will be formed in case of hypereutectoid steels, and proeutectoid ferrite will be formed in case of hypoeutectoid steels. Means hypoeutectoid means carbon percentage less than 0.8. In that case, proeutectoid ferrite will be formed. If carbon percentage is more than 0.8, that is hypereutectoid steel. Then proeutectoid cementite will be formed. Okay, so this is the TTT diagram or IT diagram, that is isothermal transformation diagram for eutectoid steel. Now, what changes will happen in this TTT diagram in case of hypoeutectoid steel and hypereutectoid steels? Hypo and hypereutectoid steels, that I have plotted here, these two diagrams showing the changes in this IT diagram or TTT diagrams. Okay, here on the left side, this is the TTT diagram for hypoeutectoid steel, and this is the TTT diagram for hypereutectoid steel. Now, what changes are here? The generally when changes are there, it may be hypoeutectic, means carbon percentage is less than the eutectoid composition, or it may be more than eutectoid composition. Then the IT curve or the TTT diagram shifts. Okay, it shifts closer to the temperature axis. Okay, temperature axis, it is shifting towards the temperature axis in both cases. But what will happen in case of their effect on the phase transformation, that is pearlite, bainite, and martensite? As carbon percentage is increasing, okay, here you can say depending on the less carbon and more carbon. Okay, it is very difficult to get the martensite phase. Okay, here in case of this hypoeutectoid steels, it is very difficult to get the martensite. Okay, martensite, getting the martensite with it is almost impossible here, because we have to use very fast or rapid cooling. Okay, hence you can say that that the low carbon steels cannot be hardened, or these are termed as non-hardenable steels. But in case of high carbon steels, here we can do the hardening with martensite, uh, getting the martensite at the room temperature. Okay, then there is this is the effect on the martensite. Okay, getting the martensite in the hypoeutectoid steel at the room temperature is almost impossible, because the first it requires very rapid cooling. But in case of hypereutectoid steels, we can get the martensite. Okay, if you use the low transformation temperature, we can get the martensite here. If you compare the pearlite, then almost there is no significant impact on the pearlite transformation or pearlite formation in case of hypereutectoid steel, and in eutectoid steels. Okay, martensite transformation will get affected. Then bainite transformation. Here bainite transformation we can get with the fast cooling rate. Bainite can be obtained in case of hypereutectoid steel. But to get the bainite in the hypereutectoid steels, we have to do very slow cooling. Okay, it's shifting towards this right hand side. Slow cooling, very slow cooling is required, as this is shifting towards this right side, BF. Here it is very close, means fast cooling is required. Here slow cooling we have to use to get this bainite structure at the room temperature. Okay, and so this is the TTT diagram. Then effect it contains like PS, PF, then BS, BF, MS, MF, then CS. Okay, CS. This we will get here. CS, we are getting this CS, proeutectoid cementite in case of hypereutectoid steels, and this is FS or alpha S, proeutectoid ferrite in case of hypoeutectoid steel. This is the difference between these two TTT diagrams for two different types of steels, hypoeutectoid steel and this is hypereutectoid steel. Now we will move towards the next, that is the critical cooling rate. What is the meaning of critical cooling rate? Now here from this diagram, we can easily see this. This is the IT diagram or TTT diagram. Now this curve, okay, this is the cooling rate, different cooling rates we are using, and the what is the meaning of critical cooling rate? The cooling rate which just touches this nose of the IT diagram or TT diagram is termed as critical cooling rate, or the cooling rate which just bypasses the nose of this IT diagram, okay, which just touches or just bypasses the nose of this IT diagram or TTT diagram is termed as critical cooling rate. Okay. Now, in other word, we are getting here. Okay, austenite is transformed in three products. Okay, transformation products are three for austenite: bainite, perlite, bainite, and martensite. Okay, now here the martensite is formed by diffusionless transformation. Okay, diffusionless transformation means carbon diffusion does not occurs in the formation of martensite, but carbon diffusion occurs in perlite and bainite transformation. While okay, I will repeat it again. Austenite has three transformation products: perlite, bainite, and martensite. Out of these three products, perlite and bainite are formed by diffusion transformation, or diffusion of carbon will occur when austenite is giving perlite and or bainite. Diffusion of carbon will occur. Hence, these two products are forming by diffusion process. But the formation of martensite is diffusionless. Okay, diffusionless, and hence the critical cooling rate can be termed as the cooling rate, okay, which suppresses. Okay, we are suppressing diffusion transformation. Okay, diffusion transformation means we are not allowing it to form perlite and bainite. These perlite and bainites are formed by diffusion transformation, and we are suppressing it. Hence, this cooling rate will be termed as critical cooling rate, which suppresses the diffusion transformation. Okay, and diffusionless transformation is occurring. Hence, martensite will be formed here. This is termed as critical cooling rate. Here, I have highlighted the critical cooling rate. Now, which parameters will affect this critical cooling rate? Number of parameters are there that will affect the critical cooling rate. The first parameter is percentage of carbon. Okay, two parameters are there: percentage of carbon and percentage of other alloying elements. Okay, now as carbon percentage increases, this critical cooling rate, okay, it shifts towards the right side, means this side. Okay, this side, it will shift towards this side. As percentage of carbon increases, it shifts towards the it shifts the this IT diagram towards right side, means critical cooling, slower critical cooling rates are required, means uh, less cooling rates will be there, that will be termed as critical cooling rate. And if carbon percentage decreases, then this critical cooling rate will move towards left side, means this side. Okay, means cooling rate will decrease. Decrease, or in sense you can say that you have to use the fastest cooling rate. You will get the fast cooling rate as your critical cooling rate. with low carbon percentage, and if high carbon percentage is there, slow cooling rate can be considered as a critical cooling rate. Okay, means if carbon percentage is more, this diagram shifts towards right side. If carbon percentage is less, this diagram shifts towards the left side. Then another parameter that will affect this critical cooling rate is the percentage of alloying element. When percentage of alloying element is more, then this TTT diagram will, or this IT diagram will shift towards right side, means this direction. In this direction it will move, and it also moves this critical cooling rate, means low critical cooling rate we will get. And when percentage of alloying element is less, this IT diagram or this TTT diagram will move towards left side, means we will get the faster cooling rate as a critical cooling rate. Okay, in this way, this is the critical cooling rate, the cooling rate which just touches the nose of IT diagram or TTT diagram, or it just suppresses the diffusion transformation, or the cooling rate which just bypasses the nose of the IT diagram. All these will be termed as critical cooling rates, and this critical cooling rate depends on the percentage of carbon and percentage of the alloying elements. Okay, now here question arises, one conceptual question is there, that why we are not able to do the hardening of low carbon steels. Okay, as carbon percentage is low in low carbon steel, and there is no other alloying element is present, what will happen, your critical cooling rate will shift towards this side. Okay, it will be very near to the temperature axis, means to get the martensite, to do the hardening, we require very rapid quenching or very rapid cooling. And with the available sources like brine solution or cold water, even we used that also, it is almost impossible to get that much faster cooling. Or with the help of some fused salts, if you obtain that, whichever martensite is obtained, as it is carbon percentage is very less in that martensite, it does not increases the hardness of that steel. Hence, the low carbon steels are non-hardenable steels because of this conditions, or this is the very important parameter. This critical cooling rate required is a very rapid cooling rate we require to do the hardening of low carbon steel, and it is almost impossible to achieve that cooling with that much fast rate. And if you achieved it by using different mediums, whichever martensite is obtained, as in that martensite carbon percentage is less, we will get the less hardness of that martensite. Okay, hence low carbon steels cannot be hardened, or they are also termed as non-hardenable steels. And then after this critical cooling rate, we'll move towards the continuous cooling transformation diagram, or CCT diagram. Now, this continuous cooling transformation diagram, or CCT, it is also termed as CCT diagram. Now, the TTT diagram, it is theoretical one, but in actual practice, whenever we are performing the heat treatments on the different kinds of steels, it may be annealing process, normalizing process, how to conduct the annealing, or how to do the annealing, how to do the normalizing, or how to do the hardening, that I'm going to discuss in the next 1 hour of this session. Annealing, normalizing, I will discuss today only. So during that process, we are not going to use the constant temperature. Okay, some continuous cooling is occurring there. Hence, we are not getting the IT diagram, or whichever transformation diagram is there. We are not getting it in the same way as we are indicating in the TTT diagram. Okay, as we are in the practically we are using the continuous cooling. We will get, or we are going to use this CCT diagram, or we will end up by getting the continuous cooling transformation diagram. Now, how this continuous cooling transformation diagram is plotted? The process is very much similar to the TTT diagram experiment. Means initially all steel samples are collected and they are heated in one furnace in the austenitic region. Okay, 1 minute. Happen. Okay, am I audible? Yes, now I am visible also. Okay. Sorry for disturbance. I will continue. Okay, okay. Thank you. Thank you for a quick reply. Yes. What I'm explaining. Okay. Yes. Now we are discussing this continuous cooling transformation diagram (CCT diagram). Now, how this CCT diagram is often only one small change is there if you compare with the TTT diagram. Okay, in the TTT diagram, what we are doing in that experiment, we are first collecting number of steel samples. We are heating it in one furnace in the austenitic region. Then we are allowing sufficient soaking time or holding time to get the homogeneous and uniform austenite phase. Okay, and we are taking all that steel samples in the another furnace where temperature is in the range A1 to ms. In that we are deciding one constant value and suppose 600 500, and all samples are maintained at one constant temperatures. Okay, that is the TTT diagram, and one by one we are collecting and cooling them, and we are taking their microstructure and plotting the temperature against time. Okay, but in this case we are the first two stages will be same, means heating in the furnace in the austenitic region, and giving some soaking time or holding time to get homogeneous austenite, and after that the all components are removed from the furnace and kept outside where continuous cooling is occurring. Okay, here continuous we are not maintaining the constant temperature. Here continuous cooling of the sample is occurring, and at each specific time interval, suppose 5 minutes or 10 minutes or half hour, we are collecting samples one by one. Okay, temperature is not constant here. Now initially one component higher temperature will be there. After half an hour or 30 minutes, if I have collected second sample, its temperature will be little bit less as compared to the previous one. This is termed as continuous cooling. And now we are collecting the samples in specific intervals, and we are quenching them in the water or brine solution, and we are collecting the information related to the microstructure. Okay, this is termed as this is termed as continuous cooling transformation. Okay, continuously cooling is happening in the remaining samples, and whichever transformation is occurring, that we are plotting by taking temperature as a function of time, and that diagram often will be termed as continuous cooling transformation diagram. Okay, it is also known as CCT diagram. Okay, CCT diagram for eutectoid steels is shown. I have collected this diagram from VD Kodgiri book. You can refer that book. Okay, now here in this diagram, okay, here you can see, you can observe this dark, this are the TTT diagram. Here I have marked TTT diagram. But if you compare TTT diagram with CCT diagram, then what will happen? Continuous cooling transformation curve. Okay, this is indicated by this dotted line. It shifts towards right side and a little bit on the lower side also. Okay, if you compare or compare the TTT curve and CCT curve shifts towards right side and towards or it shifts in to the lower side as you compare it with the TTT diagram or TTT curve. Okay, so this is the darker portion is TTT, and this CCT curve, it will shift towards right side and on the lower side also. This is continuous cooling transformation curve. Okay, how it is plotted and how the experiment is conducted, or what is the difference between isothermal transformation diagram or TTT diagram and continuous cooling transformation diagram or CCT diagram, I have explained it. Now here in this case, this is the CCT diagram. This dotted portion is CCT curve, continuous cooling transformation curve. Now here I have considered four different components, okay, with different cooling rates. Okay, this is the first cooling rate, 350 degrees Celsius per second, 140 degrees Celsius per second. Means here this is sample cooling rate 1, 2, 3, 4. This is fastest cooling rate, and little bit moderate and slow. This 3 and 4 is slow cooling. Now this first curve, it shows the fast cooling, very rapid cooling. Okay, rapid cooling is done, and we will end up with getting the martensite structure at a room temperature. Okay, as martensite is there, you can say that it has very high hardness values. Sorry, high hardness and high strength. Then this is the CCT diagram indicated by this dotted point. Okay, this is the CCT diagram. Okay, my voice is a little bit disturbing. Please wait. You can refer this diagram. Okay. Okay, now it is clear. What is happening? Presentation is visible on your screen. Please give me reply. Wait, wait. I think some problem is there. Wait, I'm checking it. What is the problem? Don't leave the meeting. I'm resolving the issue. It will take hardly 1 minute. Within 1 minute, I will resolve it. Please wait. Internet connection lost in some network issues are there. Okay, please stay tuned. I will be back. Yes, I'm back. Okay. Yes. Okay, let me know whether the presentation is visible now. Yes. Please confirm. Yes, now it is visible. My voice is also audible. Yeah, no problem. Okay, now this is the CCT diagram. Okay. Okay, if you are having any query, you can put that in the chat box also. Okay, now here in this CCT diagram, we have considered 4 different cooling rates. This is first cooling rate, second cooling rate, third cooling rate, fourth cooling rate. First cooling rate is the fastest one. The second little bit slow, third slower than that, and this is the slowest. Okay, means the first we are doing the fastest cooling, rapid cooling. Hence we will get the Martensite here. Martensite phase will be obtained. Means we will get the highest hardness with this cooling. Then the second cooling rate, it just touches the CCT diagram. It just touches this CCT diagram. Okay. The second curve, cooling rate, it just touches the tip or nose of the CCT diagram. Hence, the second cooling rate is termed as a critical cooling rate. It just bypasses the nose of this continuous cooling transformation curve, or it just touches this CCT curve. Hence, it is termed as critical cooling rate for this CCT diagram. Okay. And then this third curve, here also with this critical cooling rate, we will end up with the Martensite phase at the room temperature. Then this third cooling rate, we will end up with the Bainite. Okay, we will end up with the Bainite, and with the that Bainite may be upper Bainite or lower Bainite. And the fourth cooling, that is the slow cooling, here we will end up with the Perlite. Okay, Perlite will be there. Coarse perlite or fine perlite can be opted. Sometimes in the third core also we will get the fine perlite, and in the fourth cooling rate we will get the coarse perlite. Okay, in this way. Okay, question is there. That is why this CCT curve shift towards right side? So why it is shifting towards right side? Because here we are doing the continuous cooling. In the IT diagram or isothermal transformation diagram, suppose 5 samples I have taken, heated in the austenitic region. Then I will keep that in the one shift in the second furnace where temperature is constant 600 degrees Celsius. And one by one, I will quench them and I will plot the curve. That is the TTT diagram. But in the continuous cooling transformation diagram, I will collect that 5 samples and I will keep in the normal medium or in the air medium where there all the samples are continuously, their temperature is dropping. Okay, then initially I will collect one sample and I will cool it. Then after 30 minutes, has some austenite will get transferred to another phase. That's why this curve is shifting towards right side and towards lower side. Okay. This is the answer for your question. I hope you got it. Okay. Okay. Now, in this way, we have completed this TTT diagram, CCT diagram, and critical cooling rate. Now we will start the uh, heat treatment processes. Okay. Heat treatment processes we are going to start. The first heat treatment process is the annealing. Okay, conventional annealing. Okay, please, can you please note it down, or just please draw this CCT curve. I will take 1 minute pause here, just 1 minute. Okay, okay, now, okay, now this is the heat treatment process. Okay. In this heat treatment of steels chapter, we have different heat treatment processes. In that, first heat treatment process is annealing. Then we are going to discuss normalizing, hardening, tempering. Then some surface hardening treatments are there, like carburizing, nitriding, carbonitriding, then flame hardening and induction hardening. All these processes we are going to discuss. Now, we will start with the conventional annealing or full annealing. Now, when we are discussing heat treatment process, first we should aware about why we are conducting that heat treatment process. That is what is the purpose of that heat treatment process. Okay. After knowing the purpose, the next step will be procedure or process to conduct that heat treatment process, and in the last stage, that is the outcome of that process. Okay, what we got or what are the results of that heat treatment process. Okay, this is conventional annealing, or it is also known as full annealing. The purpose of the conventional annealing is to relieve the internal stresses. Okay, to relieve the internal stresses induced in the component due to cold working operations or due to different operations. It may be welding operation or other cold working operations. Some internal stresses may be there. If these internal stresses are not removed, then what will happen? That component will get failed. Okay, it will get failed during the service. Okay, when you are actually using it in the practical life, it may get failed due to this internal stresses. That's why it is very necessary to eliminate these internal stresses. This is the first purpose or aim of conducting the conventional annealing, or which is also known as full annealing. Now, This annealing is also used to reduce the hardness and to improve the ductility of the material. What we are doing here, we are reducing the hardness and we are increasing its ductility. Then the third purpose is to increase the uniformity of the phase distribution, to make the material more homogeneous. Okay, make the material more homogeneous, and the phase distribution should be uniform throughout, so that if you check the properties at each region, it will be same. That is to make the material isotropic in respect of the mechanical properties. Means properties will be same in all directions. If you pick any point or any region and if you check the properties, properties will be same. That will be termed as isotropic material. Then to refine the grain size. Okay, grain refinement is very necessary to improve their properties like ductility or toughness, and to make the material homogeneous in respect of chemical composition. Already I have explained it in respect of phase distribution, and also the aspect is related to the chemical composition also, to make that material homogeneous with respect to its chemical composition. Also we are using this annealing method only to increase the machinability. Okay, automatically when we are improving the ductility, automatically its machinability will get improved. And sometimes we are conducting this annealing to make that material more suitable for further heat treatment processes like hardening. Okay, sometimes we have to perform some annealing and then we are going for hardening to make the material most suitable or more suitable to do the other heat treatment processes. These are the purposes of conducting the annealing heat treatment process. Now this is the process how the conventional annealing or full annealing is actually conducted. It consists of 3 cycles. Okay, first is the heating cycle. Okay, all heat treatment processes will consist of these 3 stages. Compulsory, these 3 stages will be that: heating cycle, holding time or soaking time, and cooling cycle. Okay, here heating cycle, the it consists of heating the steel above A3 temperature. If it is a hypoeutectoid steel, we are heating it above A3 temperature. If it is hypereutectoid steel, we are heating it above A1 temperature by 30 degrees Celsius to 50 degrees Celsius. Okay. Here, important part is depending on the type of steel or its composition, we are going to decide its heating temperature zone. If it is hypoeutectoid, we are heating it above A3 temperature. If it is hypereutectoid, then we are heating it above A1 temperature. And above that, by 30 to 50 degrees Celsius, heating is done. And at this particular temperature, depending on the type of steel, shape and size of the component, we are providing some holding time or soaking time to ensure. Why we are providing this holding time or soaking time? To ensure the homogeneous or equalization of the temperature throughout the cross section of that component, and we will get the homogeneous austenite. Means the complete austenitization will occur. Okay, that's why we are providing this holding time. Suppose generally this holding time is at least 20 minutes. At least 20 minutes holding time we are providing. If suppose 1 centimeter cube shaped sample is there, 1 centimeter, then thick sample is there, then 20 minutes soaking time or holding time is provided. And after sufficient holding time, we are collecting that sample or removing it from the furnace. Okay, heating and holding, these two processes will be conducted in the furnace. Okay, already in this practical I have shown you how the annealing is conducted. In the muffle furnace, we have heated the steel sample above A1 temperature, as we have used above A3 temperature, as we have used hypoeutectoid steel. Okay, then by providing sufficient holding time, we are after that we have stopped the furnace, we have removed that, and we have kept one sample in slow cooling, one sample in the air, that will be termed as normalizing, and one sample we have kept in the furnace itself. Just we have switched off the furnace and we have kept that sample inside that furnace for the cooling. Okay, uh, and it will take some longer period of time. It may take 1 day or more than 1 day. After that, we are removing it and we are going to check its toughness or ductility. Okay, we will find that its ductility is improved. Okay, heating is done in the furnace depending on the type of that steel. Here I will show, this is the annealing zone. Okay, this is the annealing zone. Okay, if it is hypoeutectoid steel, it is heated above A3. If it is hypereutectoid steel, above A1 by 30 to 50 degrees Celsius, then some soaking time or holding time is provided depending on the shape and size and type of the steel. Then it is cooled in the furnace itself. Okay, that will be termed as annealing heat treatment process. Okay, now we will get the improved ductility. If you check it, then now we will move towards the no, normalizing heat treatment process. Okay, I will take it comparatively so that you will understand it in better way. Now, what is the purpose of performing normalizing? Performing the normalizing, we are performing normalizing by taking same aim in the mind, or its purpose is same as that of annealing, to relieve the internal stresses induced in the component due to the cold working or other operations. We are conducting the normalizing. Okay, to reduce the hardness and to improve the ductility, we are conducting the normalizing. To increase the uniformity of phase distribution and to make the material isotropic in respect of mechanical properties, means if you check any point of the that material, properties will be same. Then to refine its grain size and to make material more homogeneous in respect of chemical composition, we are using this normalizing. To increase the machinability and to make the steel or that material more suitable for further heat treatment processes, we are conducting this normalizing. Okay, now aim of annealing and normalizing are almost same, just little bit or slight change will be there. This is the process, heating the steel component. This is the first step, that is the heating cycle. Heating the steel above A3 temperature for hypoeutectoid steel and above ACM temperature for hypereutectoid steels by 30 to 50 degrees Celsius. This is the first heating cycle. Then holding time is provided. Holding time or soaking time is provided for equalization of temperature and to obtain homogeneous austenite. This is the second stage. And cooling cycle. Cooling is done up to room temperature of that sample in the air medium. One sample we have removed from the muffle furnace and kept in the air for the slow cooling. Okay, in the air medium, this is termed as normalizing. Okay, what is the difference now here? Difference is in the heating temperature zone depending on the type of steel, and difference is there in the cooling medium used. Okay, in annealing we are doing the furnace cooling, and in the normalizing we are doing the air cooling. Okay, cooling is done in the air medium. Now I will show you the region. Okay, this is the region. Here you can see clearly, this is the annealing zone. Hypoeutectoid steel is heated above A3 and hypereutectoid steels are heated above A1. But in case of normalizing hypoeutectoid steels, this is hypoeutectoid steel heated above A3 and hypereutectoid steels are heated above ACM. Above ACM. And in this normalizing, it is cooled in the air medium. In annealing, it is cooled in the furnace itself. Okay. Now, there are some conceptual questions. Why the annealing is not done above this ACM temperature here? In the similar way, for the uh, normalizing, we are for hypereutectoid steel, we are using this temperature above ACM. but for annealing it is above A1. Why it is so? That I have explained in this slide. Because in case of that, whenever we are performing the annealing, okay, what happens here, some results are there. Okay, these are the, I will show you the diagram also. In the next slide, I have added that diagram. Okay, when hypereutectoid steels are always annealed from above A1 temperature and never annealed above ACM temperature. Why it is so? When we have heated it above ACM temperature, then at the higher, that temperature is on higher side. Okay, this is higher temperature. Here, decarbonization, oxidation may occur. That is the first reason. Then grain coarsening may occur, which will improve the brittleness in the material. And the most important reason here is when you cool that, okay, grain coarsening, decarbonization, oxidation. And the first important reason is that here in this region, what will happen if you cool it from ACM temperature, proeutectoid cementite will be formed, that is Fe3C. Okay, here in this region, okay, when you cool it from this region, the cementite will be formed during the cooling. Proeutectoid cementite will be formed in case of this annealing. During the annealing, as very slow cooling is there, proeutectoid cementite will be formed, and it occupies at the grain boundaries. Okay, occupies the position at the grain boundaries in this way. This is proeutectoid cementite, and whichever austenite is there, it gets transferred to the perlite and it gets entrapped in that cementite boundaries. Okay, and what will happen due to this? Whenever load is applied, the dislocations are blocked. Okay, load cannot be distributed, hence brittleness of the material is increased. Okay, due to the accumulation of this cementite at the grain boundaries, proeutectoid cementite at the grain boundaries, and whichever perlite is formed, it gets entrapped in that cementite grain boundaries. Okay, due to this, brittleness of the material is increased. Brittleness of the material is increased. Hence, what will happen here? We cannot do the annealing above that ACM temperature. But while in case of normalizing, we can do that. Uh, okay, because we are doing the cooling with little faster rate. Hence, whichever cementite is separated, it is in the needle form. Okay, due to the slow cooling here in the furnace itself, it is very slow cooling. Okay, the cementite gets accumulated at the grain boundaries, and here little bit rapid cooling is there in the air medium. Whichever cementite is separated, it is in the needle shaped form. Okay, in the form of needles. It does not occupies the grain boundaries, hence the brittleness is not occurring in this case. Okay, now this is the reason that's why hypereutectoid steels are always annealed above A1 temperature. Never we are annealing these hypereutectoid steels are annealed above ACM temperature. This is the these are three reasons. Okay, I have highlighted that. That is the oxidation, decarbonization, then grain coarsening, and third is accumulation or accumulation of perlite in surrounded by the proeutectoid cementite at the grain boundaries, which increases the brittleness of the material. Okay, then depending on the different mediums used or different cooling rates used, the annealing processes are classified in different types. One by one, we will discuss that types. The first type is the bright annealing. Okay, in this bright annealing, what we are doing is annealing of the steel component, which is carried out using some protective medium. Okay, using some protective medium to prevent their oxidation and surface discolorization. Okay, loss of color from the surface. and to prevent the oxidation, some protective medium we are using, and we are conducting the annealing in the same way as we have discussed earlier. Such type of annealing will give us the bright surface, whichever surface is there of that surface of the component, it will become very bright. Hence, this annealing is termed as bright annealing. And here to get the surface protection, we are using different mediums, like we are using inert gases like argon or nitrogen, or some reducing atmosphere is used. And most generally or commonly used reducing atmosphere or reducing gas, we are using the mixture of 15% hydrogen, 10% carbon monoxide, 5% carbon dioxide, 1.5% methane, and remaining is the nitrogen. This is the most commonly used composition uh, as a protective medium we are using, and it will protect the surface of the steel component from oxidation and discolorization also. Hence, we will get the bright surface, and this annealing is termed as bright annealing. Now, the next type of the annealing is the box annealing. Now, in this annealing, the whichever steel component on which we are performing the annealing treatment process, uh, it is sealed in a container. Okay, it is sealed in a container so that the oxidation will be minimum. Okay, now how we are sealing it? The component is packed with cast iron chips, some amount of charcoal or clean sand, and the means initially we are taking the component before starting the annealing or the treatment process. We are taking the component and we are packing it with the cast iron chips, charcoal or clean sand, and after that we are conducting the annealing process as we have discussed earlier. In the same way all process will be formed. Initially just we are covering that component with different mediums. Hence, this annealing will be termed as box annealing, or it is also known as black annealing, close annealing, or pot annealing also. Okay. And then next is the isothermal annealing. Okay, this isothermal annealing, I will show you that with the help of a diagram. Just try to, uh, just I'll go through the slides and I will show you the diagram. The components are slightly in this isothermal annealing. Initially, components are slightly fast cooled with a faster cooling rate. Okay, just below A1. When we reach just below A1, at that temperature, we are holding that sample for some definite period of time. Okay, sufficient period of time we are providing, and after that we are cooling it in the air medium up to room temperature. Okay, now as here we are using the air medium and some rapid cooling is also done, it takes less time as compared to the conventional annealing process. And because here we have provided some constant holding time below A1 temperature, the transformation occurs at the as temperature is constant, isothermal transformation occurs at constant temperature, hence homogeneous structure will be obtained. Okay, as the homogeneous structure is there, the machinability will be more and surface finish is also more. How this is it is actually conducted, it will get clear. The two curves here in this diagram. Okay, the number one curve, this is curve. Okay, this curve is for conventional annealing or full annealing or normal annealing, and this is the isothermal annealing. Initially rapidly cooled below the A1 temperature, and here the sample is held at this temperature, constant temperature for some period of time, and then it is cooled in the air. As here we are holding the sample below this A1 temperature, uh, okay, at constant temperature, we will get the transformation product finally, or at room temperature, whichever perlite is obtained, it is uniform. Okay, uniform perlite will be obtained. Uniform or fine perlite will be obtained in this case, and in the conventional annealing, some coarse perlite due to the very slow cooling. This is the furnace cooling. Here in isothermal annealing, air cooling is done. So this is the type. Then the next type is periodized annealing. Now this annealing is used to improve the machinability and to make the material soft. Okay, final, whichever final obtained structure is there, it consists of globular cementite. In the ferrite, mixture will be pearlite, but whichever cementite is there, its the morphology will be globular in nature. Okay, now this periodized annealing can be done in three different ways. Okay, hardening and high temperature tempering. This we are going to discuss in brief in tomorrow's session. Hardening and high temperature tempering, we will get the globular cementite in the ferrite. Okay, first hardening is done, and then high temperature tempering. Already we have conducted one practical on this. Okay, hardening is done, means furnace heating is done on the component is removed and directly quenched in the water. That is the hardening, and that sample again heated just below A1 temperature, just below A1 temperature, and it is slowly cooled. This, it will be termed as hardening and high temperature tempering. Due to this, we will get the globular cementite. Then holding just below A1 temperature and thermal cycling around A1 temperature, that I will explain with the help of diagram. This is the thermal cycling around A1 temperature. Thermal cycling means rapidly we are increasing the temperature above A1, then dropping it below A1, again simultaneously increase the temperature above A1, then lower the temperature below A1. Due to this cycling heating, what will happen, globular cementite will be formed. Whichever cementite is separating below A1, it will become spherical, which will improve the ductility of the material. And this is the periodizing. Just below A1 temperature, heating is done and it is slowly cooled. Here also the ductility of the material is improved. Then the last type of the annealing, and this is the last type of the annealing, that is subcritical annealing. Okay, the annealing processes. Okay, subcritical annealing, the annealing processes which are conducted below lower critical temperature, that is below A1 temperature, are known as subcritical annealing processes. Okay, annealing processes in which the cold worked steel are heated to some temperature below lower critical temperature, that is A1 temperature, are known as subcritical annealing processes. Now these subcritical annealing processes are classified in three different types. The first type is stress relief annealing. Second type is recrystallization annealing, and third type is process or intermediate annealing. Now one by one we are going to discuss all these. All these three annealing processes, we are heating temperature range will be below A1 temperature. Hence these are termed as subcritical annealing. That A1 temperature line is termed as lower critical temperature line. Hence these processes will be termed as subcritical annealing processes. Okay, now stress relief annealing. In this stress relief annealing, the steel components are heated in a temperature zone just below recrystallization temperature, that is 500 to 550 degrees Celsius. We are heating the component in that temperature zone. Then some holding time or soaking time is provided. Okay, during this holding time or soaking time, what will happen, whichever stresses are there, okay, all these stresses, only stresses will get eliminated in this stress relief annealing. Temperature range will be, heating temperature range is 500 to 550 degrees Celsius. Some holding period is provided, or some soaking time is provided, and after that the sample is cooled. Here whichever internal stresses are there, that will get eliminated. Internal stresses are completely eliminated without decreasing the hardness of the component. Hardness will remain as it is. just internal stresses are relieved. This is termed as stress relief annealing, and this is conducted below recrystallization temperature. For generally steel, below 600 degrees Celsius, and commonly used temperature is 500 to 550 degrees Celsius, and holding time is 1 to 2 hours. 1 to 2 hours of holding time is provided. Okay, I will repeat it again. Steel samples are heated at a temperature range of 500 to 550 degrees Celsius, uh, and held at this temperature for 1 to 2 hours, and then it is slowly cooled in the air medium, and hence these stresses will get relieved from that component without changing its hardness. Okay, this is termed as stress relief annealing, and as it is conducted below subcritical or below lower critical temperature, okay, that is the A1 temperature, it is also termed as subcritical annealing. Okay, then recrystallization annealing. Now this recrystallization annealing, the heating temperature range is above 600 to 675, just below A1 temperature and just above recrystallization temperature of the steel. The component is heated. Depending on the shape and size, the soaking time will be provided. Soaking time or holding time is provided. Generally, 1 to 2 hours holding time or soaking time is provided. And then after sufficient holding, providing the sufficient holding time, it is cooled. Okay, it is cooled. Now during this cooling, what will happen? Stresses, whichever stresses are okay, all the stresses will. I'll repeat it again. In this recrystallization annealing, the steel component is heated above 600 degrees Celsius, that is above recrystallization temperature of steel, and below A1 temperature, that is lower critical temperature, that is below 727 degrees Celsius. Generally used temperature range is 600 to 675 degrees Celsius temperature. Steel component is heated, and at that particular temperature, component is held, or we are holding it for 1 to 2 hours. Or this time may get changed depending on the shape and size of the component or composition of that component. And then we are cooling it. We are doing the cooling. Then what will happen? Whichever stresses, internal stresses are there, that internal stresses will get eliminated. And again, what will happen? Stresses will get eliminated, and its ductility will get changed, or ductility is improved. Here what is happening? Formation of new grains is occurring. Okay, formation of new stress-free equiaxed grains. Stress-free and equiaxed grains is occurring. Old grains are broken and new grains are formed, and hence the will get the little finer structure. More toughness will be there in this recrystallization annealing. Then the third annealing is the process annealing or intermediate annealing. This process annealing or intermediate annealing is done in the same temperature zone as that of the recrystallization annealing. Just what we are doing here, in the intermediate annealing, in between other ongoing heat treatment processes, and this annealing is done to get the what why we are doing this, to eliminate the internal stresses in that component and to get the equiaxed stress free grains. Okay, that's why it is termed as intermediate annealing process. So these are the three subcritical annealing processes. Okay, in this way I think I have covered this point. Okay, this is the temperature zones for full annealing. Okay, this is the iron carbide equilibrium diagram. This is A1 temperature line. This is A3 temperature line. This is ACM temperature line. For full annealing, this is the temperature zone. For hypoeutectoid steel, above A3, and for hypereutectoid steel, above A1. Then for normalizing, for hypoeutectoid steel above A3 and for hypereutectoid steel above ACM, heating temperature zone. In case of annealing, cooling in the furnace itself for full annealing, and in case of normalizing, we are doing the cooling in the air medium. Okay, so this is the difference in the full annealing and normalizing temperature zones, and these are different temperature zones for stress relief annealing. This is the temperature zone 500 to 550 degrees Celsius, recrystallization annealing 600 to 675 degrees Celsius. This is periodized annealing just below A1 temperature. Okay, so okay, these are different temperature zones. Then we have, in this session we have discussed the types of annealing also. Now we will just see the comparison of the annealing and normalizing heat treatment process. This is the comparison. As annealing, the cooling is done in the furnace itself. It requires more time, and as it is taking more time, it is less convenient and it is uneconomical if you compare it with the normalizing. In normalizing, the cooling is done in the air medium, means little bit faster cooling is occurring, hence it is more convenient and economical if you compare it with the annealing treatment process. The whichever hardness is obtained in the annealing, lesser hardness is there, as very slow cooling is there, tensile strength toughness is also less, but due to little bit faster cooling, we will get the more hardness, tensile strength and toughness in the normalizing components. Then the microstructure shows, okay, whichever microstructure is there here, the content, in both cases we are getting perlite only in annealing also and in normalizing also, but the perlite obtained in the annealing is coarse. Hence, its properties like hardness, tensile strength, or toughness or ductility are inferior to the hardness, tensile strength, and toughness obtained in the normalizing process. Here, because perlite is fine, perlite obtained is fine. Okay. And then the grain size distribution in annealing is more uniform. Little bit grain size distribution is less uniform as compared to the annealing. Internal stresses are least in this annealing due to very slow cooling, and due to little bit faster cooling, more amount of internal stresses may be there in the normalizing heat treatment process. Okay, so these are some comparison points related to the, you can compare these heat treatment process, annealing and normalizing, with respect to their temperature zones. Okay, depending on type of steel, then cooling medium used, then properties obtained, phases obtained, then grain size distribution, internal stresses. When slow cooling is there, internal stresses are little less. Okay, in normalizing, faster cooling is there, internal stresses are more. So now, if you are having any doubt, please ask me. Okay, now in this today's session, I will summarize it. In today's session, okay, let me know if any doubt is there. If any doubt is there, put that in the chat box. If all points are clear, please mention that no doubts are there. Please give a reply. Anyone, please provide me reply. Okay. 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 I will summarize it. In this today's session, we have discussed TTT diagram, that is time temperature transformation diagram, which is also known as IT diagram or C curve or S curve. We have discussed this TTT diagram or IT diagram for eutectoid steel containing 0.8% carbon, then hypoeutectoid steel and hypoeutectoid steels and hypereutectoid steels. Then we have discussed critical cooling rate, the rate which just bypasses the nose of IT diagram or which suppresses the diffusion transformation is termed as critical cooling rate. Then carbon amount, as carbon percentage is increasing or alloying element percentage increases, this critical cooling rate or this IT diagram moves towards the right side. Then we discussed the continuous cooling transformation diagram, that is CCT diagram, and the effect for different cooling rates. What will be the final product? If faster cooling is there, martensite will be obtained, and if slow cooling is there, then fine perlite or coarse perlite may be obtained. Then we have discussed the conventional annealing with its purpose to relieve internal stress, to improve to reduce hardness and increase ductility and machinability. Then it's heating with procedure. Okay, it's procedure, conventional annealing procedure. Then it's different types. Then normalizing its purpose. Then its process. Then classification of the different types of the annealing processes, and why we are doing the annealing in that particular temperature zone for different types that I have explained, and types of annealing processes like bright annealing, box annealing, isothermal annealing, spheroidized annealing, then subcritical annealing with its three different types like stress relief annealing, recrystallization annealing, and process or intermediate annealing. Okay, along with the temperature zones, normalizing also I have discussed, and we have compared the annealing heat treatment process with normalizing heat treatment process. Okay, so in this way we have completed this today's session. Now tomorrow I will start the hardening tempering heat treatment process. Now put your roll numbers in the chat box for attendance purpose, and I will stop this session or close this session here only. You can leave after mentioning your attendance. You can leave this session. If any doubt is there, you can ask me. Okay, and I think one notice I have shared on the group that your second ISC will start from 11th January. Okay, for our subject, it will be on 12th January. Okay, ISC will be based on now I will tell you the third chapter and fourth chapter only, chapter number 3 and 4. And if I have completed any other chapter up to the that 10th or 11th, then I will ask questions on that chapter. You can leave now. If you have put your attendance in the chat box, you can leave this session. Thank you for attending this session. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much.